Hi everyone, and welcome to Terry Lawson Photography Conversations. It's July 4th, 2013, and on this beautiful summer afternoon here in Edmonton, Alberta, I have the joy of being in the studio of local artist Kari Duke. It's a very comfortable space, and we're surrounded by a number of Kari's new paintings, which are just about to make their way to the West End Gallery in Victoria and the Gibson Fine Art Gallery in Calgary. Kari has been painting for a number of years and has had her works displayed at many art galleries in Western Canada. She has received many awards for her work and has had articles published in the Galleries West and a few weekly magazines. So sit back, maybe go get a cup of tea, and enjoy my conversation with Kari Duke. Hi, Kari.
Hello.
And I want to thank you for letting me into your studio today so we can talk about your art.
My pleasure. My studio's always open. It's lonely up here. I love the company.
This is a very cool place.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable, and you can tell that you're an artist by being in the studio.
Yeah, that's just because you've seen my floor. But yes, it's a great place. I'm very lucky to have it.
Yeah. So I'd like to start us off by maybe asking you, what made you say to yourself, I want to be an artist? Or was it something that just sort of happened on its own?
You know, I wish I had a really lovely romantic answer for that, but actually it was pretty straightforward. How can I at age 50 do something that I am good at and that I think might sell? I just went for it. It was really simple economics for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always loved to paint, I always loved to draw, but it was always just a hobby. And my situation was so that I was going to support myself for the first time, and starting at 50, my computer skills were not there. My acting skills were not there. I mean, what else was I going to do? And so I took a big leap, and I'm really happy I did, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you've made the decision to pursue this. Did you take any formal instruction, or is it
No.
something that you learned on your own?
I grew up in a home. I think my father was probably a frustrated artist to be. So I had a great appreciation for art, and he always loved what I did. I always drew, even as a little kid, and felt I was pretty good at it. And even in school, in Parkview, I was good at art, and I enjoyed it. But then, your life gets busy, and you marry, and you have kids, and you get something else going. So it was always just a hobby. I just got lucky. In many respects, it was unlucky. I mean, I had to move, and the bad things happened to my life personally. So I was at the bottom of the barrel emotionally and personally, and I went, okay, well, it's got to be up from here. And what would you like to do, Kari, with the rest of your life that God gives you? And I figured, well, is 50 too late to try something completely out of the box? No, It wasn't.
Very cool.
It's never too late.
Yeah, nice. Just some technical things. Maybe you can help me out a little bit with artists and how they express themselves as far as the medium itself. There are, I understand, watercolors, and there are oil paints. Are there differences or preferences that people would use watercolors or oil?
Well, I'll tell you, I have great respect for watercolors because I find it just a horrifically hard thing to do. So I tried it. I was terrible at it. Plus, I have a real fear of white.
Oh, okay.
And so I can't paint on anything white. I go completely blank. So this was problematic when I started my career because canvases, everything is basically white. So it wasn't until I got into charcoal painting and pencil and then I went, okay, pastels. Now pastel paper comes in different colors. Well, this is kind of cool. So I tried some pastel. I was good with pastel, but they're chalky and they're messy. And I painted in a little corner of my home.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, okay, I have to try something else in. So then I tried acrylics. Acrylic is basically a plastic and it dries right away, and that frustrated me. So I went, okay, what am I going to do? Let's try oils. Well, oils, you got the terps, you've got the smell, you've got everything. Everybody in my house went crazy. You can't use that. So I lucked out on a product, water-soluble oils. And this came out about 15 or so years ago. Grumbacher put them out at first. And I have used nothing else. And I paint completely with the water-soluble oils now. And the only reason they're all different, the oil is not a petroleum product, it's a vegetable product. It will break down when wet with soap and water.
Really? Okay.
So here I'm painting in oils, but I can wash my brushes in my home without any of the terps or the smells.
Right.
And it breaks down, and oh, bless this product, because I live in this little home in McKernan with plumbing problems constantly, and so I have to be very careful with that. And this is a beautiful product. It has the same color fastness, staying power. It's a beautiful, beautiful product. I don't know why it's not used more often, but I am a great spokesperson for it. Water-soluble oils.
Yeah, well, it's interesting just looking around at the paintings that are in your studio right now, and it's really interesting to see the softness of it, and also the drama as far as light is concerned. Now, I'm not too sure if that's what you are doing with the paint, or whether the paint sort of allows that to show through on its own.
No, it's really what the artist is doing
Okay.
with the paint. I mean, you can paint a very subdued painting as well without any great highlights and lowlights, but then I find that's very boring. I like to paint, if I'm known for anything positive, it might be that people do like my use of light and dark and shadows.
I notice that every time I look at your paintings, that there's definite use of light.
And I think that's really important. And it's one of the lovely things about painting in Edmonton, where we have these beautiful winters with bright sun. The snow scenes are exquisite to paint in Edmonton because of the amount of sunlight we get.
Right. So here you are, 52 years old. You decided to become an
Yes,
artist.
yes.
Is there anyone that you drew your inspiration from?
Not really. I mean, I'm a great Group of Seven fan as far as thinking that their work is beautiful, especially Tom Thompson and Linsmer and Carmichael. I mean, I just love their work. But no, I didn't ever have anyone I sort of aspired to paint like. In fact, I think that's, in many respects, the fact that I am self-taught. I don't have a degree in it. I'm a secretary by nature and a childcare worker. So it's because I was able to completely do my own thing, never had a teacher tell me I was doing anything wrong. I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm a firm believer if you do something 8 hours a day for 10 years, you're bound to improve.
Yeah. Well, and you have to learn from your mistakes, right? That's
Oh,
all
I did.
part of it.
I certainly learned, but I think my biggest bonus was my subject matter, and that was basically well thought out. I mean, I'm an okay artist. There's people that can do sceneries and portraits and animals beautifully. So what can you do if you're sort of a mediocre talent? What can give you that edge? Well, then you do something with a subject matter that people will find fresh and different, and it's not done to death. So I chose alleys, A, because I think they're wonderful, and B, because this is the way I think I could make my niche. And I had so much negative comments at first, including my parents. There's beauty all around you, and you're going to paint an alley with garbage cans? Are you crazy? And I said, well, perhaps I am, but let's just see. And they have been so well received.
Well, and I think it's probably those people that have that memory or vision in their mind from their past.
I think
and we all walk a back alley, and it's so familiar, and to actually see it portrayed so beautifully, I think that's the draw.
Well, there's a lot of artistic license. Some of these alleys aren't, but I make sure I do put in the garage doors that haven't shut for 10 years, and the dents in the garbage cans, and they're missing their lids, and the fences that are falling apart, like my own in the backyard. I paint where I live. I paint within 3 miles of my home, and I've done this for 12 years now, and so that's a lot of subject matter just outside my door that people haven't even noticed is there, because you're taking just for granted the everyday beauty. You don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think the alleys are beautiful.
Well, and I think that's what happens too. I mean, when people see your works, that might just make them stop
I hope
and
so.
listen. I mean, that's why I like to take photographs. It's my perception of the world, right?
Yes.
And I get many comments, people saying, geez, I walked right by there and I didn't see
I didn't
that.
see it. Well, I remember vividly one afternoon, because I was very depressed, went through a bit of a depression thing. I mean, I left my lovely home and my job, my friends and hope, came up here to relocate to Edmonton. And then the situation, I ended up alone up here and without a job and without my friends. And I was feeling very sorry for myself, needless to say. It was about 30 below, and I was walking the dog down the alley, and I came from a very lovely home with lots of space, no neighbors. So here were these neighbors, chocolate block all over me. I was in snow, it was 30 below, and I'm walking down this alley looking at the garbage cans and the fences. And then the sun broke through a cloud, and it was almost like God tapped me on the shoulder and said, open your eyes and stop complaining. Just take a look at what you're looking at. And the sun came through and hit this old garbage can, and then the shadow of the poles went across the alley in the way they bumped over the ridges of the snow, and then they went up and they dissipated over this garage door that was all out of kilter and sitting all awkward. And I went, oh my goodness, this is so uniquely beautiful. I ran right home and got my camera and took some shots, but it was 30 below, so my camera didn't work. So I had to wait till it warmed up. But it was like a eureka moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was.
Wonderful. I'd like you to take us through the process that you typically go through.
Okay.
Right from the spark of inspiration to the completion of one of your paintings.
Absolutely, Terry. Well, I always have a camera with me. Pardon my cat, but she's very affectionate. Up on your lap, happy. I take camera with me wherever I go. So, and I'm a great walker. So I'll see a scene. If the light is just perfect, I'll take some photographs, and I take hundreds of photographs. And if something really moves, I love to walk down an alley, looking around, and then spin around and see what I missed. Sometimes the best shots are, as you know, being a photographer, are the ones that you just walked by and you didn't notice it, but when you turn around, you have fresh eye. So I'll take lots of photographs. So that's the start. And then I'll come in, and if I'll pick a number, one maybe, of a photograph I just love, it has just the right light for me, it's got the great subject matter, and then I will pick what size should it be. And that again is an economic, like, people are enjoying the long ones and enjoying different sizes. So I will match a photograph with a canvas, and then I will always gesso my canvas. If you notice, my canvases are very dark.
Yes.
That's a gesso, an acrylic base. It's a primer. It gives the paints a tooth to hang on to. And since I have this thing about white, I painted this dark, warm brown. It's almost like a black. And because I like drama, I want drama in my paintings. And if you put I'm just going to show you, Terry. Okay, here's if you put this on white, it's okay. If you put this on black, it just all of a sudden boom. So the darker my image in here, my light colors just sing. They come out right away. I don't have to work at them. So anyway, that's why I do the black gesso, the brown gesso. And then I will take out a pencil and I'll sketch the image onto you could see here there's some lines. So I use a color crayon because I'm drawing on the dark, right? So you have to be able to see it. And then I start painting it. And I think what they call me is a negative painter, and that doesn't mean I'm grumpy all day. What it means is I will start in on the sky and leave my dark gesso, which is very dark, like this. This is no paint right here. This is the way it looks. I leave spots where the trees emerge. I don't paint the trees in.
Okay.
And then, so I'll paint. Usually it takes me 1 or 2 days to do painting, depending on the size. And I always have 2 or 3 on the go, because I have 2 easels. And I let it dry to the touch, and then repaint it, so that I can pop colors up and that sort of thing. Then after it's dry, well, then you varnish it, and then with any luck at all, it may sell.
What's interesting when you're talking about that process is for a lot of my photographs, I do something very similar. What I do is I take a color image, and then I take I make a copy of that image as a layer, and I make that image into a black and white photograph.
You get the values.
And then I merge them together into one photograph, and boy, oh boy, the drama that comes from that is amazing.
Yes,
So it's a very similar process.
It's a very similar process. Exactly, it is. Works quite well. And then I've also changed. I used to frame everything with the caps and liners, and most people now, they want more of a modern look. They like to have it hanging just like here with the thick edged canvas.
Oh yeah, like almost like a wrap.
Right. Or else they'll put them in. They'll drop them in sort of a very, very fine, thin piece of wood. So even the framing has changed with my artwork.
Yeah.
But now I paint just like this. I send them to my galleries this way. It's up to the customer to decide if they want to frame or not. Now that's one thing I don't have to worry about anymore.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that sort of frustrated me too. Is this huge expense to frame your photographs or your paintings.
Yes.
It's a huge burden.
Yes.
But to do it this way is perfect, because it also gives your customer the choice, depending on where that painting is going to go.
It does.
In their building or their house or whatever. So it's and certainly the painting itself stands alone just fine in that presentation.
It's a very crisp look, and so I like it. And it also has cut a lot of my freighting costs down, because once you get these large pieces framed up, they cost more, so it costs more to deliver them. And frames can get damaged very easily in galleries, not purposely, of course, but once they're dinged up, then you've got a huge expense that's gone.
So you're painting all these interesting images of alleys, or I'm looking at one here, which is a front street with all the beautiful elm trees. What are you trying to draw from people as far as their feelings are concerned when they look at your paintings? What are you hoping they see and feel?
Well, of course, I hope it gives them happiness. I hope they like it, obviously. But when I'm working in the galleries and people come up to me and they've purchased my paintings and they talk to me about it, and the main thing I hear is that people are reminded of what they perceive as a gentler, calmer, quieter, less hassle. They feel very peaceful when they look at my paintings. None of my paintings have real people in them. They don't have animals in them. The only human thing you're going to see is the back alley, the occasional automobile, and so they can deal with the feeling of humanity without the actual people that sometimes wreck it. And it makes them feel of their past. Their grandma used to live on a street like that, or they grew up on a street like that, and they have very lovely memories, and I think that evokes some memories. Plus, it's a simpler time. I paint very simple, tiny homes. People without a lot of money, just family orientated. I think it brings a lot of memories back, actually. That's what I get from most people, that it just makes them feel very calm and very happy.
And that's a passion that you have also, right?
Oh, very much so.
Obviously, that's why you paint these paintings.
Well, yes.
Because it evokes that feeling that you have from your past.
Very much so. Very much so. I grew up in a similar neighborhood, and I spent my years growing up enjoying the back alleys. When it rained, we knew we could play in the puddles. Nice days, you knew all your friends, and you knew which houses. You never went to the front street to knock on anyone's door. That was for company. You never would think to do that. You always went in the back alleys, and you went in the back gates. You knew everyone's dog. The dog loved you. You knocked. Everything was open in the backyard. And the front street was just for show.
Yeah.
And it still is. You see these beautifully manicured front yards that nobody plays in, nobody sits in, and in the backyard is where people live, and that appeals to me enormously.
Yeah. So I guess what you're hoping is you can make that connection of your feeling of that back alley and someone else that's looking at the painting to get that same feeling.
And also the respect I have of the back alleys. I have enormous respect for what they stand for as well, and the fact that everybody was friendlier and everybody knew everyone. And boy, you don't have that anymore. We grow up now. Our kids, we're terrified for them. We don't let them play unless they're sanitized, and if they're sanitized, they have to be sanitized with the right kind of company, and it just gets on and on and on. Yeah. And I feel very sad that people haven't grown up, because the new subdivisions don't have them. There's a whole generation that have not grown up with waving at people coming down the alley, and you know what so-and-so got for Christmas, because there's the garbage, and but everyone's got a drinking problem. I mean, everybody's business back there, and they know yours. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain kind of respect, I think, for that. And I feel really sad that that's gone.
Yeah. Well, and I guess technology certainly is a contributor to that. We find ourselves with our cell phones on our computers, and we don't communicate with each other,
no,
and
not at
we
all.
live very solitary lives.
Yes.
I grew up at the same time you did, in the same community, and there was many hours spent in play.
Yeah.
And today, play is seconds long on a computer.
Yes, it is.
It's bites of time, I call it.
It's absolutely, it is.
Yeah, and you're by yourself all the time too. Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a highlight so far since you started painting that really makes you say to yourself, I'm sure glad I made that decision
to become
an artist?
I have so many in it. I have so many, but I have two that really make an impression and a memory for me. One was actually a mutual friend of ours, and when his wife was dying of cancer in the hospital, and I have a lot of work in hospitals, and after chemo, when she was feeling really rough, or they had maybe another setback, he told me they'd go into this waiting room and they'd look up at a Kari Duke painting, and it brought her into a peaceful, beautiful spot. And I mean, I get choked up even thinking about that. And then another one, a couple came in and they bought a Kari Duke on their wedding night, and they got a Kari Duke on their wedding as a wedding gift. On their 5th anniversary, they bought one. They're going to celebrate their 10th wedding anniversary in July, and they commissioned me to do another one.
Right on.
Things like this just makes you feel very good, and also that my kids are very proud of me, that I tried something out of the box and that I've done well. That makes me feel good on a daily basis too.
Yeah, beautiful. Now we're sitting in your studio surrounded by a number of new paintings.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about this new grouping of paintings and where they're destined to go.
Where they're destined to go. Well, I have 5 galleries, 4 very large ones. One in Edmonton here, and one in Calgary, one in Canmore, and one in Victoria are my 4 big ones. And this is a business. You have to keep the galleries happy. They have a hard job to do. I know they take 50% of everything that you sell, and people say, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous." Well, I've worked in an art gallery, and it's not ridiculous. If they work hard for me, then we're both happy, and then they do all the work so that I could concentrate on just one thing, providing them with paintings. And so that's my obligation. So every few months they will phone up and say, we need such and such, and if they're a good gallery and well run, then I like to ask them, well, what sizes do you want? Spring, summer? What's selling? What are your clients wanting? Because that helps me as an artist be successful. And so they'll say, well, we'd like to get some 30 by 40s or some long ones, and maybe some more summer scenes. And so if you listen to a good gallery owner, they will help both of you be successful. The ones that are packaged already are going to Victoria, and the ones that are up here varnished, they're ready to go. They'll be packaged up by me. They're going to Calgary. And then this one that's right here, it's not varnished. In fact, it's still wet. It's not quite finished yet. The works in progress on this side are going to be going to the front.
Okay.
So, you have to just keep them all happy. That's part of the job.
So how many paintings would you find yourself doing in a year?
Oh my goodness. One time I had 2 solo shows, one in Edmonton and one in Calgary, and they both, I think in one year I did almost 100 paintings.
Holy smokes, that's amazing.
But I'm in my studio at 10, and I don't usually quit till 5:30, and if it's going really well, then up comes the glass of wine at 5:30 and I'll paint till 8. And I take some days off, but on the whole, this is full time every single day. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
Oh, of course.
But
the passion has to be there.
It has to be there. But it is, right now, I'm going to do this for as long as I can.
Mm-hmm. Using that segue, where do you want your art to take you?
Well, I don't really know if I want any more galleries. I'm finding I've got enough, and they're all well-run and honest, very good galleries, very fine galleries. So as far as promoting myself more, I'm to the point where I don't really need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to, where would I like to be? I'd like to just be doing this. I guess I'm in a very good spot in my life. I have no complaints. I'm really happy with my career. If I can just maintain this for another 5 or 10 years, I would be delighted. I wouldn't mind maybe a gallery in Eastern Canada, because I would love to paint some of the back alleys in Toronto and some of that Eastern flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I'm extremely blessed and very happy with the way things are going.
Do you see your paintings when you're done and you're looking at them as a historical presentation of a time?
I very much do. Surprisingly, I didn't start out with that intent in mind, but I really see it now. The new subdivisions, and I'm sure Edmonton's no different than most of these big cities, it's not economically feasible for them to have back alleys anymore. So the people are putting these great big 2-3 car garages attached to the front of the home. I think it's very, very ugly, and this ode to the automobile of the toys they happen to have. And so they're missing that part out. All the lines now are going under the ground, so you don't have any of the poles. It's a neater look, but it's also, I think, sad to see them go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in my little neighborhood of McKernan, even in the last 5 years, it has changed dramatically with these little homes being torn down and duplexes put up, or big homes. I understand people need to live, and these homes are old and we have plumbing problems, but that's one of the reasons I love painting them, because my own neighborhood, just the 5 blocks around me, has changed, so I hardly recognize it, and that's just in 5 years.
Yeah.
So I really think that if someone doesn't paint them, it's I'm just very glad that I enjoy painting them.
Yeah. Well, we're all fortunate to have your paintings and have the pleasure of enjoying them, because they do certainly, as you say, reflect a time of the past. And I think it's important for kids also to see these paintings, because it's probably very unfamiliar to them.
Thank you for saying that. It's so many of my paintings go. I would have thought they'd go with people my age that would have memories of being brought up like this. But the majority of my paintings go in young couples that are both professional, beautiful, huge, big homes that I do not paint. And strangely enough, they love the little old homes and the little neighborhoods in their homes. And for that, I'm not quite sure the answer. I find that that very interesting that they would choose to buy that kind of artwork and put it in these big, large, modern homes.
I find that people in their lives need balance. And for me, I like the city. I enjoy all the things that the city has. But I also enjoy the country. And I think it's important to have that balance. So in the example you're talking about, they live a professional life of energy and technology and all of that stuff. This is their balance, probably.
Definitely.
To just give them calmness when they look at that painting.
Well, I think there is something there. They're very calming. They're very. It's a gentler time. At least that's the way it looks like.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. Well, Kari,
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you for letting us talk to you today.
It's my pleasure. It was lots of fun.
And I just love what you do. I hope everybody gets a chance to experience your paintings in the future.
Well, I hope so too. I'll keep doing this for as long as I can.
Okay. Thanks, Kari.
Thank you, Terry.
You have been listening to Terry Lawson Photography Conversations. Interviews with local photographers and those involved in the art scene. I hope you can join us for our next interview.